Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. How you guys doing today? Today I am in a good/bad mood. I played a tournament. I host Plexchat tournaments every single day, as most of you guys are already aware, and I was doing really well. You can see here, I actually came in 10th place. Not bad, but unfortunately, I was on the precipice of getting into top 5, top 3, and every time I would make headway, this same guy would beat me with this really annoying minor poison kind of evolved deck. And it was TrainerGuard. This guy, TrainerGuard, he was incredible. He didn't lose a match the entire tournament, and he beat me. Get this. This is cringeworthy. I can't believe I'm admitting this. I faced him 3 times, and he beat me 3 times. Incredible, especially since I knew the deck that he was playing. So today I wanted to share that deck with you guys, and then as soon as he beat me, right afterwards, I played in a grand challenge with the deck, and I ended up going on my very first try with the deck 11-3, so not too bad. So what I'm gonna do is share 2 of the losses I took to him. The second one we'll watch in double time because we don't want to get too repetitive. They were the same decks after all, and then we'll move into some of the replays that I had using from my grand challenge using the deck, which I absolutely love. As a matter of fact, I think these 2 decks are probably going to be the decks that I use in King's Cup 2. So we'll have to see. I don't want to tip my hand too much and let my opponents know, but you know, maybe with some adjustments. But these 2 archetypes right now, for me, feel like the best in the game in terms of what I'm comfortable with. So let's go ahead and look at the deck and look at him smoking me with it first off here. You can see this is the 3 Musketeer deck I love on the left, my deck, and you can see a hint for an upcoming video, Miner plus Loon equals OP. That's on the way in a couple days. And then we have TrainerGuard's deck, and there it is. It's crazy. It's Miner Poison with the overpowered Bandit and the arguably overpowered Mega Knight. Here's the deck right here. And you can see, guys, this deck is like Miner Poison evolved. It has the 2 best legendary cards alongside the Miner, in my opinion, in the Mega Knight, or maybe you can make an argument the Ewiz as well. And if you wanted to put Ewiz in this deck, you could, in place, making it a little bit more expensive in place of the Goblins, if you're lucky enough to have all those legendary cards. So let's go ahead and hop into the match where he smoked me. This is the first time, I'm going to play this one first. This is the first time that we faced against one another here. So I have no idea what he's playing in this match, and boy, this guy is pretty good. He spams the wows at the beginning. I don't know why people do that. It's just silly old me. No big deal, right? But here you go. I start off with an Ice Golem in the back, just kind of waiting him out. I don't love to start out with an Ice Golem in the back, but I'm kind of limited in options here. And you can see it ended up really hurting me here. I could have saved that Ice Golem and kited that Mega Knight. Unfortunately, I'm scrambling here. I'm forced to use my Battle Ram, but luckily, I end up defending against that push that could have really hurt badly. And my Ice Golem actually gets all the way to the tower from the beginning there, and the Bandit finishes off that that Mega Knight. And that was a big victory for me because I actually have the pump protected on the arena right now. So far, so good. I know he doesn't have Mega Knight anywhere near his hand, his rotation, so I go ahead and I cycle back to another pump, and I use the Ice Golem in back of my King Tower again. So far, so good. The problem is going to be, as you guys are going to see, is eventually I'm just not able to do any damage. He can defend so well with this deck that it's just incredibly frustrating, and yeah, you guys will see. So here we go here. I have the Bandit in the right lane. I actually get her to the tower. So at this point, I'm like, okay, how is this guy in first place? I mean, he's not even playing that well. Now, easy for me to say right now. Later on, I go 0-3. I can't beat the guy, okay? So again, I pump up here, knowing that he doesn't have Miner in hand. He's forced to use Poison. That's cool with me. So now he uses Poison against my Elixir Pump. I can play 3 Musketeers now, knowing that he has his spell out of rotation. However, he does have the Mega Knight, so I opt to split 1 Musketeer towards the tower that I'm going to try to do damage on, forcing him to use the Mega Knight on the opposite tower. But he's a good player, and he's going to try to stymie my 1 Musketeer push. He actually does a very good job of that right here. He gets it to with within 1 zap range on that Musketeer, so he's going to still be able to stop this push here using the zap and the goblins in the right lane. Very, very good defensive sequence for him. Meanwhile, the Mega Knight is stopped by my bats and Ice Golem. That's a pretty decent trade for me, but remember, he did take out my 2 Musketeers before that with the Mega Knight, so yeah, not that great of a trade, Ash. So here we go again. At this point, I'm starting to get a little bit worried, right? So even if I play perfectly here, I'm just not sure how I can stop Poison and Mega Knight. Now, in hindsight, what I think I probably should have done is just kept pumping, even into double elixir time. I should have forced him to use his poison or his miner on the pump, and then hopefully take advantage of a positive elixir trade if I could block that miner. However, I didn't do that, and I didn't learn from my lesson either. Again, I'm forced to use the battle ram to kite that Mega Knight. I don't know why I always go to call him a Mega Minion. He's nothing like a Mega Minion, but I'm able to stop him pretty well. You can see on his end, he hasn't really gotten much damage onto my towers. I'm still in the lead here. However, going into double elixir time, when I have 3 Musketeers as my win condition and he knows all my cards, Battle Ram and Bandit, he's just very well poised in this deck to stop anything that I have coming from my angle here. So I try to go opposite lane. At this point, you can kind of read his mind here. He's probably thinking that he can just minor chip damage me out here. He has 3 minutes still, or 2.5 minutes at least. So if he keeps cycling Inferno Dragons and keeps me on my toes defensively, he can just keep minor poisoning and chipping away at my right tower. And that's exactly what he does here. So this match goes on forever. So I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward. But you can see here, again, I'm just going to have to keep kiting this this Mega Knight. I really don't want him to go into the right lane against that tower that already has a lot of damage done on it. So at this point, again, cycle, cycle, cycle. Really gets a little bit boring. He does make contact with that Bandit there, so it's not looking good all of a sudden. He's getting a lot of chip damage with the minor poison. Another minor poison, I think, maybe. Yep, another minor poison coming in, and that's going to be it. That's all she wrote. Took him, you know, quite a while, 5 minutes, but he still got me down, and I just felt like I couldn't do anything at the end of that match. Now, granted, it's a pretty tough matchup for the 3 Musketeers to go against Mega Knight and Poison in the same deck. However, you know, I think maybe, like I said, had I pumped, I would have been able to do a better job. I'll go ahead and play my one of my other defeats against him, but I'm going to do it in 4 times speed just because I want to get to the other different types of decks, and you guys, you know, if you try this deck out, you'll know basically how to go about, how to win against it after 2 replays. So here we go. At this point, again, he's just trying to take down my pump. I'm trying to get a little bit of damage done with the, or what I do with this deck is I use the Bandit. You know, Bandit, no matter what deck you're playing her in, Bandit's just a great cycle card. So if you have nothing obvious to play, a Bandit at the bridge obviously has to be answered. And oftentimes, it's just a really good cycle card. Only 3 elixir cost. I'm not afraid to play Bandit at the bridge whenever I have to. So again, guys, check this out. Oh my god, I get that right tower down to 367, and I can't seal the deal. I cannot lock up the victory here. He just does a good job defending, and as you guys know, I don't have any big spells in my deck. I only have Zap. So it's not like I can Zap cycle the tower down. I need Zap for his bats and stuff like that as well. So he's just able, again, I just let that Mega Knight go there in the right, and at this point, I'm just like so frustrated. I can't believe that he took me down again when I had that tower down to 360 damage. But hey, he's a really good player, and it's a really good deck. So now, I started playing the deck myself, and boy, is it fun. Let's hop into this matchup here. It's going to be against, you can see, the new bait deck, which is another really annoying deck. So this time, I'm playing the Minor Poison Evolved deck, and my opponent's going to have like a new version of bait with the Princess and the Goblin Barrel and the Mega Knight as well. Inferno Dragon is everywhere, by the way. Inferno Dragon replacing Inferno Tower in a lot of decks and a lot of archetypes because it has to be answered on the counterattack as opposed to the Inferno Tower. Granted, does a little bit less damage, but of course, the counterattack is pivotal and it costs 1 less. So it's really a no-brainer in a lot of decks right now. So I'm always, with these decks against bait, I always want to take out the princess, right? Even though my deck doesn't, princess isn't the absolute worst thing in the world, I hate princess. I don't want to have her on the arena against me. By the way, I screwed up with the Mega Knight there. I should have just dropped him right on the Goblin Gang, but I had already dropped it a little bit early there. Anyway, the thing is I always want to send my miner in onto the princess. I want to be aggressive against the princess. I don't want to let her in the arena. So once I know my opponent's playing Zap Bait, which is basically the only archetype that's using princess right now, I'll go ahead and send in that miner like early, really early. As soon as I see the princess, I'll send in the miner, and the thought process there is just give them less time to be able to react and protect the princess. So here, I'm just using the miner to get a little bit of chip damage in. I kind of got lucky there. The bandit actually ran right into that princess, so that was a 3 for 6 elixir trade against the princess and the Goblin Gang. I'm going to go ahead and use my Mega Knight against this Goblin Barrel. That's really the best spot to drop your Mega Knight against Goblin Barrel. You can, on the far side, like right in between, in the middle tile of the side of the tower. If you have the just perfect timing, you can totally negate any damage on the Goblin Barrel. Worst case scenario, you're going to do what I just did there and get, get 2 goblins killed and then one-shot the other one. So that counterattack really worked out for yours truly, and you can see here, guys, I'm playing rather defensively, right? I'm not overexerting myself. I'm always making sure that I don't over-defend. I'm letting my opponent kind of come to me, so to speak. In other words, with this deck, just as in regular minor poison decks, you don't want to be super aggressive because you can really, I find at least, you can really be caught off guard, especially like if you over-defend and your opponent tries to juke you and attacks the opposite lane. So just defend as much as you need to, but be very aware and cautious of really loading up or using Zap when you don't need to. So that's a really important key to this deck here, especially I found this on my losses. So I lose my right tower there. I decide just to go all in on the left instead. He has a Mega Knight of his own. He zaps my Mega Knight. I go ahead and drop the Bandit. Probably a bad decision dropping the Bandit in hindsight, but I double down on that bad decision and I go in for the minor poison as well. I was hoping to, with the Bandit and the poison there, to kill or really close to kill that Mega Knight. Instead, I'm going to have to do some quick thinking here with the goblins on that Goblin Barrel, and then I put down my bats and my Bandit towards the bridge, mitigate a lot of that damage, but I could have defended better there, certainly. So the Bandit does make contact there. I'm feeling pretty good about this match. It's one of those weird situations where if I didn't go so aggressive on the left tower, I probably could have just defended the right and wouldn't have to go to overtime. Either way, I have a pretty good advantage here, and when you get late in the game with this deck, you can just rely on the minor poison. You don't have to rely so much on the big heavy pushes. Again, you do have poison in this deck, so that's a pretty big spell, unlike my 3 Musketeer deck. So even poison cycling at the end, if you just defend well, will be totally fine with a deck like this. So here we go with the at this point, it's pretty much wrapped up here. A lot of these matches in my Grand Challenge went into overtime, just like the matches that I had against TrainerGuard in the tournament. So take that into consideration, guys. You might have to go up against, might have to have a lot of overtime matches, so try to stay kind of patient with this deck and play for the long game. Don't necessarily try to get all your damage done in the first 2 minutes or the first even 3 minutes. So here we go again. This one is against this really popular minor balloon deck. So this deck is... You'd think it might be a challenge for the deck that we're playing, right? Because we don't have a lot of air counters in this deck. We really just have the bats and the Inferno Dragon. So we're going to see how we stop the minor balloon deck using the bats and the Inferno Dragon. So obviously, Inferno Dragon's going to be your main beefy air targeting troop. He is going to get a hit on my tower there with a balloon. So he comes out of the gate pretty strong, but I know that he used like all his elixir on that push. So if I'm smart here, I might be able to take this tower down or at least get more damage that he got on my tower. So you can see here, he has no elixir left to defend, and he's a pretty good player. I checked his profile afterwards. Of course, all Sandstorm guys are good players, pretty much. But you can see here, I just had that kind of awareness that he used all his elixir. He went all in the beginning on that push, and I was able to kind of mitigate a lot of the damage done to my tower. At the same time, I saw, again, he was a little bit too aggressive there with the fireball, so I decided to go aggressive in the left lane now. Even though he has the mini P.E.K.K.A., I'm just going to keep doubling down because I know I have the elixir advantage on him because he keeps, basically, it stems back to that fireball that he used against my Inferno Dragon and my tower there, that was really unnecessary. So having the awareness on my part or your part, if you're playing this deck, to know when somebody overcommits and then try to punish them. I've done it twice in this match here, so it's just really important to do that, especially with this deck, but really with any deck. So at this point, a minute left, I'm going to go ahead and go double time because, you know, all I have to do is defend. I'm not going to make this harder than it needs to be. I'm not going to go super aggressive. I'm just going to save what I need to save for that balloon, obviously the Inferno Dragon and the bats. And then if the counterattack presents itself, I'll go for it. Here, using poison, just stopping the bats and killing the Mega Minion. And again, he comes at me with the balloon. I'm going to use the same combination to defend. This time, he is going to take my left tower. I decide to go pretty aggressive on the left tower here with the Mega Knight and the Inferno Dragon. Of course, he defends pretty well there and guesses wrong on that miner, so I was able to finish it off again with a 2-1 victory. Let's go ahead and show one more replay against, I think this is a straight up, no, a beatdown deck. So let's watch against a Golem deck. How do you handle a deck like this with a miner poison deck? This is actually a pretty easy matchup, and I'll show you why. So this is the new Golem deck. I actually shared this deck last week on the channel, the deck that my opponent is playing here. It's the Golem Mega Knight deck, and he decides to pump up, so I'm going to go all out. I mean, you have to, in this day and age, in Clash Royale, I'm a firm believer that you have to go super aggressive if your opponent pumps, especially if you're playing Bandit. So you can see here, he has the 1 elixir or 2 elixir lead now, but I was able to at least keep him on his toes. I know he has the elixir lead. That push, that little rush by me could have definitely went better, but now as long as I play defensively, it's not like I'm out of the match and he's forced to cycle back to the pump or make a major decision going all in on this push. He decides to, and you can see, I was pretty patient defensively there. Even though he had the Night Witch and the Mega Minion coming down the right lane, I decided to wait on playing my Mega Knight, my Bandit, anything like that. I wanted to see what he did, and it's a good thing I did that because basically what I was talking about before, right? He came in the opposite lane, tried to kind of surprise me with the Mega Knight, but I had enough elixir to defend both sides just fine there. He did do a little bit of chip damage with those bats on my left tower. He's going to go ahead and drop that pump. I make a mistake here, and it, you know, you can believe me or not believe me, but I didn't want to drop poison at this point. I did accidentally. I thought I had zap selected. I wanted to kind of zap the bats out of the Night Witch and allow my miner to get one more hit. Instead, I used the poison. At this point, I know I'm kind of in a tough spot elixir-wise, but I also know he doesn't have enough elixir to drop the Mega Knight or the Golem, so I should be okay. How do I know that? Because he dropped the pump and the Night Witch to defend my miner in poison. So there's no way he could recoup 7 or 8 elixir in time to support that Night Witch. So here I decide to use my zap and forced him to use his zap as well. I get a charge on the Bandit, and things are looking pretty good for me. Well, actually, you know, they're not looking pretty good for me at this point because it's going into double elixir time, and I know that he has the advantage in double elixir time because he has a very heavy deck. So I'm going to go ahead and go all in on my defense here because he's going all in on offense. I'm going to save my poison. I could have used my poison on his Night Witch as it was crossing his tower. I decided to try to get more bang for my buck off that poison and use it on defense in the lane instead. I'm able to mitigate some of the damage and keep my tower alive. I decided to go all in on this push, knowing, or at least thinking, that he didn't have enough elixir to drop that Mega Knight. Of course he did. I was wrong. So sometimes you just guess wrong. I'm forced to defend again here. So using the Bandit to distract the Mega Knight and coming in with the bats right in the center there to distract that Mega Minion and the Night Witch's bats. That was a pretty good defensive sequence considering he did have an elixir advantage going into it. So again here, look at that, guys. That Inferno Dragon is doing work for me there, taking out the Mega Knight just barely before that Mega Minion and the bats targeted it. So one thing about this deck, guys, is you're going to want to play the Inferno Dragon as much as possible, really, even if you don't need to. Inferno Dragon is kind of a weird cycle card in this deck. So you can play the Inferno Dragon in the opposite lane that you're attacking, and if you don't need it, I'm saying, obviously, in this match, I'm going to be saving the Inferno Dragon for the tank, right, for the Golem. But if you don't need it, if you're going against, like, a Zap bait deck, you can just play the Inferno Dragon in the opposite lane if you have nothing else to play, and then you can end up, look at this, by the way, boom! Miner finishes it off just in the nick of time. I could have defended a little bit better, and without that poison and using Zap instead, a couple small mistakes there, and it wouldn't have been so close. But either way, guys, I just wanted to share that deck with you guys. It is a beast, man. I think it might be one of my favorite decks in the game. I'm going to go ahead and play some more grand challenges with it. I hope you guys have luck with it as well. I should have said this in the beginning of the video, but if you don't have Mega Knight in this deck, I would sub in just E-Wiz, make it a more defensive deck. You won't have that big tank, or a P.E.K.K.A. if you want to. A minor P.E.K.K.A., a minor poison P.E.K.K.A. deck is still really solid. So actually, yeah, I would sub in P.E.K.K.A. for Mega Knight. If you don't have Inferno Dragon, you can just sub in Inferno Tower like a minor control old school deck. And if you don't have the Bandit, if you want to get crazy, you can sub in the Battle Ram to give you another offensive option, that rush option. If you want to play things a little bit more safely, you can sub in the Knight. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Just want to give a huge shout out to Bren Chong, my YouTube partner. Make sure you check him out in the description below. Guys, thanks so much for watching, and as always, take care, guys.